All right, guys, we're ready for the next couple chapters of The One and Only Bob. Chapter's called Dragons. More police cars and ambulances arrive at the park. A handful of keepers stream in too, looking frantic and confused. The weirdest thing of all, wandering through all the destruction are random park residents, animals, birds, reptiles, residents who most definitely do not belong in the gorilla world. A police officer is chasing an armadillo. A great blue heron watches the mayhem from her position atop of a giraffe statue. A wallaby pokes his nose out of a bush, his saucer eyes catching the fire engine lights. Nets, someone yells. We need more nets. An older gentleman holding a blue umbrella lets out a blood-curdling scream. Dragon! He cries. I swear to you, I just saw a baby dragon! Sir, says a zookeeper named Malik. No worries. That's actually a Gila monster. His name is Gilligan. A paramedic raises his hand. They have venom, don't they? They say a healthy adult won't die from it, Malik shrugs. Although they'd be in some serious pain. Wonderful, the paramedic mutters. I glance over my shoulder to see Sarah running toward Maya. I can't hear her words, but I can definitely see the worry in her eyes. Zena's ears tip forward. They're getting the cutters. Zena's ears tip forward. They're getting the cutters and the jaws of life. Jaws? I repeat. I don't like the sound of that. It spreads metal. They're probably getting close. Come on, we need to get out of the way. I ain't going nowhere. I hear ya, she says, and I can tell from the worry in the sound of her voice that she's had this conversation before. But the best thing for Ivan right now is to let the humans do their thing. So I think about it, and I figure she's right. I give his fingers one last lick, and they don't move. Nothing. Nada. We pick our way to the bottom of the debris pile. Hang in there, Ivan, I call. We love you, buddy. I know it's crazy, but I listen anyways, hoping for a sign, any sign that he's still with us. Next chapter is called Hugging. I run to Kenyani. Don't worry, I tell her he's going to make it. And I can tell she doesn't believe me. From there, I head over to Maya and Sarah and Ruby. Maya has a radio handset in one hand and for some reason a young squirmy meerkat in the other. Sarah kneels down and hugs me tighter than any sweater she's ever knit. Bob, she cries, what happened to your nose? And look at your paw. Some dogs don't like to be hugged that way, and I'm one of them. But Sarah needs to do it. I can tell somehow, so I let her. It isn't so bad, really. Next chapter is called Loose. A new police officer joins us. Officer Williams, and she nods at Maya. You're with the park, right? Yes, I'm Maya. This, Officer Williams pauses, we need to get this under control as soon as possible. Winds are going to pick up, and we haven't even hit the eye. Storm surge could be an issue. This one's moving slow. Well, we've got a skeleton staff here, says Maya, as the meerkat attempts to eat her earring. Early reports say maybe a third of the habitats are damaged or destroyed. And she shakes her head. We've got some injuries, some possible fatalities, too. Human? I don't think so. Uh-oh. Anything loose that could be, problem? Maya presses her lips together. Yep. Such as a couple of Florida panthers, gray wolves, a python maybe. Maybe an alligator or two. American alligators, not Chinese. I don't care if they're from Canada. If they eat people, we're in trouble. Well, they don't typically. Typically, Officer Williams repeats. Well, that's reassuring. Sarah loosens her grip on me ever so slightly. Maya, she asks, voice trembling, have you heard anything on the radio from George and Julia? I keep calling, but the cell towers are down. Nothing yet, Maya says, but I'm sure they're fine. Well, the nearest shelter's over at Lincoln Elementary, says Officer Williams. You could check there. And Sarah frowns. They were probably here right before the tornado hit. We're searching the park, ma'am, says the officer. We'll find them if they're here. Everybody clear out. A firefighter with a megaphone yells from a spot near Ivan. Could be danger of more collapse. We're working on this last metal beam. I look to see if Ivan's fingers are moving. Nothing. Hold on, Ivan! I yell. Nothing. Sometimes nothing is the worst sound in the whole world. Ruby lets out a little elephant cry, and then I realize maybe that's the worst sound in the world. The next chapter is called CPR. The wind dies down to a whisper as if the world is holding its breath, along with the rest of us. Do you have any vets standing by? Asks Officer Williams as two more ambulances screech to a halt nearby. Yes, Maya nods. Not sure when they'll get here, though. Officer Williams waves down an ambulance crew member. Have you ever given CPR to a gorilla? A primate is a primate, I guess, but what's going on? Well, we're waiting on equipment, but we're stretched pretty thin. A lot of structural damage on the north side of town, says Officer Williams. They're going to get a chain on that last beam. Try pulling it free with one of the cars. Is somebody under there? A gorilla, we think. Not sure what else, or we're not even sure who else. I look at all the cement, all the wood and metal. Nobody could survive that. Not even a silverback gorilla with the strength of 8 men. And yet, Ivan's fingers moved, and then they didn't. And several minutes pass, and the rain slows a bit, along with the wind, and the crowd watches as 3 firefighters attach a long chain to the metal beam next to Ivan, then hook it to a tow bar at the rear of the police car. Back up, folks, calls the megaphone guy. Farther! The chain clanks, the car growls, the wheels squeal. Grinding, groaning, progress just a bit. The big chunk of metal has definitely moved a whisker or two. More grinding. Wheels dig holes in the ground. Mud flies like thick brown rain. A lurch, a snap. Clanks and rumbles as the big beam jerks free. The rescue workers move in, digging with their bare hands. Cement and dust and metal and bits and pieces of gorilla world are everywhere. But where is Ivan? This chapter is called No. No movement. Nothing. But after a few more minutes, one thing is clear. A gorilla-shaped mound has appeared, covered by dust and dirt and debris and splattered with rain. It just lies there. I've lost a lot in my life. My whole family, Stella. But Ivan? No, it can't happen. Not Ivan. The next chapter is called Miracle. A mound sits up. Next chapter, Gorilla Ghost. Ivan emerges from a cloud of dust like a jumbo-sized ghost. And he blinks several times and coughs and shakes and stretches a little. And he's holding a banana, which he proceeds to eat. Everyone, and I do mean everyone, cheers. Wolf on the run. I scramble over to Ivan and he gives me a look that says, "You're the best, Bob." I thought thought you were a goner, I say, licking some banana goo off his chin. Me too. Ivan seems a little dazed. His eyelashes are white with dust. What happened anyway? Tornado. Is Ruby okay? Kenyani? Julia? George? I haven't seen Julia or George yet. Kenyani's over there carrying on. A paramedic holding a box of medical equipment approaches us nervously. I've got this, calls a woman I recognize as one of the park veterinarians. The paramedic looks happy to step aside. The vet gently but firmly pushes me out of the way. I'll be back, I tell Ivan. I run to Kenyani. He's good, totally good. The look of joy in her eyes makes me want to give her an affectionate nose nudge, almost. From there, I join Ruby and Maya. I was so scared, Bob, Ruby whispers. Me too, I admit. Me too, but he's fine, I promise. We watch a pair of otters dart past, chased by a guy with a net. One of the firefighters who'd been clearing debris yells, "We're clear here. No sign of other victims." Sarah closes her eyes and I can smell her relieved tears. While Maya listens to her walkie-talkie trying to take stock of the damage to the park, Officer Williams's police radio hisses and crackles with new problems, new flooding, new dire predictions. Copy that, she says into her radio. Even with the chaos and noise, I'm close enough to the radio to catch the tinny sound of frantic barking. We've got a unit reporting the animal shelter down the streets flooding, Officer Williams says. Also, we've got trailer park damage on 12th Street, an oak down at Nelson Avenue blocking traffic, and a big rig overturned near the fairgrounds. And that's just for starters. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice something airborne. It's graceful and bold, like a huge wingless bird. And the crowd gasps. It's Kimu. He lands on the hood of Officer Williams' squad car. His eyes are glazed, his coat wet and shimmering. We've got a 1091 here, Officer William whispers into her receiver. Confirmed. Seems there's a wolf on top of my vehicle. Slowly, she reaches for the pistol on her hip. Please advise. Shots fired. Several officers raise their guns. The tranquilizer dart guy takes aim too. No, Maya yells, no guns. Kimu blinks, eyes darting right and left, then leaps off the car with such grace and speed, it's like he owns the wind. 2 shots ring out and silence follows. Was he hit? Someone asks. And Maya closes her eyes. I sure hope not. I sure hope so, someone else says. Jungle. As I watched that leap, I watched Kimu fly. I didn't know what to think. Part of me was like, go for it, dude. And the other part of me was thinking, it's a jungle out there. Next chapter is called A Situation. Officer Williams climbs onto a picnic table. Someone hands her a megaphone so she can be heard over the din. Folks, she yells, listen up. We've got a handful of animal control workers coming over, but several roads are already flooded out, and the weather guys are saying Gus is going to take his sweet time. Meantime, park supervisors call in more help, but only if your workers can get here safely. The unmistakable roar of a big cat rolls over us like slow thunder. Any more tranquilizer guns? Officer Williams asks the park director who just arrived. 3 in reserve, she answers. Nets? We have a dozen. Okay then, Officer Williams' radio crackles, and I can hear more shouting, more barking dogs. Shelter's flooding, she says. Yeah, that's what happened there before, the director says. Usually just a foot or 2 of water. Okay, public safety is where we start, Officer Williams wipes rain from her forehead. We need to get the word out that these animals are on the loose. Of course, says the director. We have protocols in place, but we need to be careful how we word this. People might overreact. They might. Ma'am, a firefighter interrupts. I see a python in my backyard. I think if that happens, I'm as sure as heck gonna overreact. First things first, says Officer Williams. Triage is in the main office. Check wreckage for any survivors, human or animal. Fan out with tranq guns. Get an inventory on how many animals are loose. I wonder how it's possible that Officer Williams can seem so composed. The air reeks with fear from animals and birds and people and from me. And yet she doesn't seem worried about herself, just the other people. Weird. The way some humans stick their necks out for others doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? And again, the crackle and the hiss and the barking, and my ears perk up for a minute. Was that a familiar noise? Maybe someone I know is in the slammer? I'm going to go to the shelter at the elementary school, Sarah says. Her hands are trembling, but her voice is firm. I'm going to go look for George and Julia, just in case. And she strokes my head, and I'm happy to let her. And I wonder if I should tag along with her to see if I can help out, now that I know Ivan and Ruby are safe. Hiss, crackle, meow, bark. I hear it again, and my ears go on alert, and my body goes rigid. No, it's impossible. Next chapter is called Never. Some barks you never forget. Next chapter, One Place. I know what I have to do. Despite the turmoil all around me, the noises, the smells, the fear, the confused humans, the frantic animals, despite my worry about Julia and George, I know there's one place I need to be. A split second. I want to tell Ivan and Ruby, but Ivan is still being poked at by the rhymes with pet threat. Although, come to think of it, she doesn't seem like much of a threat. In a movie, she'd be one of the good guys. To my annoyance, Sarah picks me up. I hate being picked up. Unless it's my idea, then it's totally cool. Maya, she says, you let me know. First sign of George and Julia, okay? I promise, says Maya, and she places her hand on Sarah's shoulder. Humans, always with the touching, although I kind of get it under the circumstances. You can't take Bob to the school shelter. They're not allowing any more pets, Maya points out. And the animal shelter is flooding, it sounds like. Why don't you just leave him here? Put him in my office. He'll be safe. No way is that on my agenda. Sarah nods. Good idea. She starts to hand me over, but hesitates when she realizes Maya still has a meerkat wrapped around her neck. It's just a split second, but in a split second, all it takes to escape when you're Bob, untamed and undaunted. On my way. Bob, Sarah cries. Grab that dog, Maya yells. I spent a good part of my life running from a certain guy named Mac, and I still have my moves. I twist and spin and dip, and before you can say, yes, sirree, Bob, they've given up. I backtrack, slip under a bench, make my way to Ruby. Ruby, I whisper, I gotta go. Something important came up. You and Ivan, see if you could find George and Julia. I want to come, Ruby says, stomping her foot right into a huge puddle. No, you need to keep an eye on Ivan, I say. Make sure Kenyani doesn't drive him loco with her sobbing. I'll be back before you know it. And I didn't wait for an answer. I'm off into the wild, into the world filled with wind and rain and wolves and alligators, with a voice that could rip my heart in two. The third part of the book will be coming at you tomorrow. Tomorrow. You'll find out tomorrow if Bob and his friends get away. Bye, guys.